All right, JP, thanks a lot. Ahoy, everybody.
Ahoy.
Exactly. I hope you're greeting. This is the Ahoy Comics panel, and I'm pleased as hell to talk to these guys. I'm John Siuntres. I host a podcast called Word Balloon, and I've had the pleasure of talking to several of these people before, but I was expecting Captain Tom Peyer to join us. Unfortunately, I know he can't. Yeah. So, and again, I don't know the hierarchy of the ship, but I will either lean on Yeoman Jamal Igle or Stuart Moore to introduce Richard, because I don't know Richard's full name or his capacity, but I have had the pleasure of talking to Stuart Moore, Jamal Igle, and Mark Russell before. It is great to see you guys, and Richard, it's a pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to learning more about your capacity at Ahoy. So either Jamal or Stuart, could you take over the introductions, please?
Well, I think it probably makes sense for everybody to introduce themselves for the most part. I'm Stuart Moore. I'm a writer of Captain Ginger and various things for other companies, and I'm also Ahoy's freelance ops director. Jamal, you want to take it?
Sure. I am Jamal Igle. I am the co-creator and artist of The Wrong Earth, and amongst other things.
Mark, how about you next?
My name is Mark Russell. I'm writing Billionaire Island and Second Coming for Ahoy.
And Richard, please tell us your full name and capacity, if you would.
My name's Richard Pace. I can usually do about half a bottle of vodka before I pass out. The co-creator and lead artist on Second Coming from Ahoy, which is the panel. So I think everyone knows where the book's published.
That's awesome, man. I love Ahoy Comics' general initiative, and I've enjoyed the books I've read so far. And we were going to have Mariah and Tom on as well to talk about some other projects, but happy to talk about all your books. And we may as well go in order and start with Stuart with the Ginger book. And maybe Stuart, but I know it's a crazy book, and I want you to give us the elevator pitch on the concept. All the Ahoy books are very, very funny, and we really need good humor books. And I'm really pleased to say that Ahoy delivers every month. But yeah, tell us about Captain Ginger.
Well, thanks. I might even be able to share a cover while I do this. But
great.
Captain Ginger has a very simple elevator pitch, which is cats in space. It's about following the destruction of the human race. The cats inherit not quite the Earth, but one starship, and they have to learn how to use it, and they have to learn to survive. And in the latest storyline, which is our second, they also have to deal with their cousins, the dogs, who have a whole different set of priorities and problems, and who really haven't been doing too well on the planet they've been marooned on. We are just finishing this second series up. Let me see if I can share that the trade paperback.
If you have Chrome, you should be able to share your screen, and you will go to the Chrome tab on share screen, and it'll give you options.
That's what I'm doing, and the problem is I think I opened up.
Hey, Sue, how are you?
Oh, it's Sue. Hey, Soo Lee, everyone. Sue, while I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Sue. I've been working on Ash and Thorn with Mariah. And yeah, I always feel weird. I don't really know what to say at all times.
Oh, don't worry, Sue. I got questions. Absolutely. Okay. I'm glad you're able to join us today. That's terrific.
Thank you. Good to meet you guys all in virtually. I mean,
indeed. There you go, Stuart. I see the screen. So if I don't know who's running the room, there we go.
Oh, there it goes. Yeah.
There you go. Beautiful.
That's the cover to the trade paperback of Captain Ginger, Volume 2, Dog World, which will be out at the end of October in comic shops and November 10th in bookstores. And it is that cover, as with every page of art in the book, is by my co-creator June Brigman, who is brilliant, mostly known for the comic Power Pack, and she also draws the newspaper strip Mary Worth.
Oh, of course.
And her husband Roy Richardson is the inker. The colorist is also brilliant. Her name is Veronica Gandini. She does beautiful work. So that's what I've been working on for Ahoy, in addition to keeping the schedules and dealing with Diamond and dealing with all the various publishing crises that the entire world's been dealing with lately. So.
It's great to hear that another comic strip artist is doing both a strip and comic book work, and I have a personal connection to Mary Worth. Ironically, I was doing radio in the 80s at a Bloomington, Illinois station, and I was talking about the local paper, and they were running the Mary Worth strip, and I'm like, anybody read Mary Worth? What's the deal with that? And I got so many irate calls of Mary Worth is going to be in newspapers a lot longer than you're going to be in radio, Mister. And
You'll
it's
be dead, buddy.
So that's amazing, man. No, and I love the concept. And again, this is what I love about Ahoy. All really funny ideas in very capable hands. And Jamal, I'll turn to you now regarding the Wrong Earth.
Yes.
And I talked to Tom about Dragonfly Man Day, and I just love this. I know the concept, but I will let you describe the concept behind the Wrong Earth.
Okay, so the Wrong Earth, the basic concept of the Wrong Earth is you have a hero or two heroes. Dragonfly Man, who's sort of a kind of kitschy 60s pastiche of several caped detective characters, and his darker alternate, as I like to refer to him, the goddamn Dragonfly. One is from Earth Alpha, which is a sunlit, happy-go-lucky world, and Earth Omega, which is its darker counterpart. And what happens in the first series is they end up on each other's worlds and have to deal with each other's sidekicks and villains, and all wacky hijinks ensue as you have, Dragonfly, who's this sullen and morose, dark Avenger dealing with, villains like the Triviac and
villains that would have been played by, I don't know, maybe a Frank Gorshin, a Burgess Meredith, a Cesar Romero, without naming a possible company that might call for infringement. But imagine Adam West finding himself in the middle of Christian Bale's world.
Basically. Although with Triviac, if we were going throughout time and space and casting Triviac, I see him more as Sammy Davis Jr.
I like it. He should have been a villain rather than just pop out of the window.
This is true. This is very, very true. So Tom and I are actually working on the follow-up, the sequel to The Wrong Earth, which is Wrong Earth Night and Day, which will be coming out in 2021. And as you can see from the cover, Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man will meet for the very first time.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing, man. I don't know. You're dealing with alternate universes right now, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. Sue, I'll go to you now and ask for you to give us the 10-cent elevator pitch on the book you work on.
I mean, my favorite, I think, the way Mariah and many others described it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Golden Girls. There's like really nothing else to say, right? If you just put two and two together, it's a great book, honestly. I'm so excited about all the wonderful reception we've gotten so far over it, and we're only like just getting issue 4 out, right? So it's kind of crazy. I'm not really too sure, but I think the second issue is being reprinted again. I don't know if
it's not being reprinted, but Diamond has reordered it again.
Okay.
And I think that's going to run us out of copies. So I think the second issue is sold out.
Great. Yeah. Well, there you go. But yeah, it's
And I just shared the cover to 4, John, if you have that.
Oh, feel free. Yes, please. Thank you, man.
Yeah. They're beautiful covers. Jill really knocks them out of the ballpark.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm in love with them. Every time like I see a cover, I'm just like so honored that we have her drawing the covers, really. And she gets like the illustrations of what the stories are about down packed, and it's just wonderful. I love the team and like very much.
Well, again, I mean, they're great concepts, and I think I think you guys are all handling the humor quite well. Mark, we talked a bit about Second Coming, and I'm sure we'll review that as well right now. But yeah, tell us about the second book, Billionaire Island, correct?
Yeah, Billionaire Island, and the elevator pitch for that is billionaires build an artificial island to escape the end of the world, which they've caused. It's sort of like world's biggest party yacht. There's no laws really on Billionaire Island, which they call Freedom Unlimited or FU Island, if you want to use the acronym. But yeah, so they got like offshore banks. They literally have a bank called like the Pina Colada Bank, and they have you can eat. They have restaurants that serve nothing but endangered species, and you can only be on the island if you are either a billionaire or working for a billionaire. So if you're like the caddy or the personal servant of a billionaire, they give you a little shock collar you have to wear when you go out in public. So if you get out of line, they can give you a shock. But yeah, it's sort of, it's interesting that they were able to reunite me with Steve Pugh, who is the artist that I worked with on the Flintstones for the DC Hanna-Barbera line, because in a lot of ways, this sort of bookends the story of human civilization.
Very true. I love that.
Flintstones is like the beginning, and you see the fundamental errors of human civilization, and this is sort of like the end.
It's full circle.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Outstanding. That's
now we just
great,
got to
man.
gradually do everything in between.
And before we get to Richard, let's talk about Second Coming.
Yeah, another really easy elevator pitch. Second Coming is Jesus Christ sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with a superhero. And it's really about sort of a deconstruction of both how superheroes and Christianity have been sort of abused by institutions, about how they've been sort of like abused these belief systems and these sort of icons of public imagination to further their own interests and to consolidate their own hold on power rather than to serve the people that they originally were meant to serve.
That's excellent, man. No, and Second Coming has had an interesting life, a gestation period. Interesting showing the baby there because I know that a couple companies turned it down, Mark, or just one?
Well, yeah, we were only shown the door in disgrace by one company.
Okay.
But yeah, it was originally supposed to be a Vertigo title with DC, and the kitchen got a little too hot for them, so they politely asked me if I'd be interested in getting the rights back and kindly taking it somewhere else. But the first place I had in mind was Ahoy. We spoke to a few other companies about publishing it, but really it was always just kind of a formality, testing the water. So in my mind, this is like sort of a perfect project for Ahoy because they are sort of the funny Vertigo. They're the Vertigo for like sort of funny satirical titles. So it's like where are you going to find someone who's going to get this material and respect it better than Ahoy?
That's a great description. You're absolutely right. I think funny Vertigo is because you guys aren't willing or aren't unwilling to take risks with your stuff, and certainly Second Coming shows that. But I think all the concepts do and everything. Richard, tell us about your book.
It's Second Coming.
Oh, excuse me. Richard, I apologize. There you go. It's already been a long man. I really thought that these conventions would be easier when you're doing them from home.
John,
but no, brain rot continues, so I apologize. There we go.
Well, then the fun thing about looking at what happened with our book is essentially we got pushed off to the side before Vertigo essentially collapsed, and the further we get away from DC, the more stuff DC gets to go through in a negative way. So it's almost like we got put on the lifeboat. And as we're looking back saying, geez, they dumped us on a lifeboat. We were really enjoying that cruise liner as it hits an iceberg off in the distance. And we watch it sink slowly.
Yeah.
So I think being at Ahoy has been a wonderful experience for the book. They've let us do things that we know Vertigo wouldn't have let us do. And not only is the book better for it, but I think Mark and I are better for it. So
no, that's great, man. Mark let me see the first couple issues when we spoke on Word Balloon. And I love it. It's a very, very funny book. And again, for all of you, from both the art standpoint and the writing and stuff, the humor works, man. And it's funny. And Mark, when you and Steve were doing the Flintstones, and I mentioned this to you before, I'm such a fan of like being on model when it comes to the classic characters that I'm like, I don't know. And also, I got to be honest, I really didn't care for the live action John Goodman movie
no one did.
There you yeah.
I think even John Goodman doesn't list it on his resume anymore.
But that's the thing. So I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna work. And my God, you captured the tone, and then with Second Coming, it's terrific, and it really is like Jesus is my roommate, God is my co-pilot, but but Jesus is my roommate. So that's
Yeah, and I think the key to writing these characters is that it can't just be snarky. It can't just be an assassination attempt. It's got to be like find what you love about these characters, and then build your version of them around the things you love about them.
Understood. Absolutely, man. Stuart, can you speak to the genesis of Ahoy and what were you part? And Jamal, please as well, if you, because honestly, I think of you guys as first generation Ahoy. So I don't know how much and again, these were kind of some of the questions I'd be asking Tom if he were to join us. But just to explain the imprint to viewers that maybe aren't as familiar with Ahoy.
Well, it really started with Tom and our publisher, Soo Lee. They put the whole thing together, along with another guy who's local to them in Syracuse named Frank Camuso, who's a very talented cartoonist. And he's been too busy with other things to be very actively involved, but he's an advisor on everything we do. They brought me in pretty early on. Jamal was brought in early on also as the artist and creator of The Wrong Earth, which was our first title.
Right.
Because we've been talking about is coming back in January. It just sort of grew from there. We assembled a small team. Behind the scenes, it's the best team I've ever worked with. Everything just works. Everything clicks. Everyone's very enthusiastic. Everyone's very straightforward, which helps. It's just been, for me, it's just been a great experience, both creatively and in terms of the working environment. Jamal, you want to say?
Well, like Stuart said, Stuart actually, it's really funny because Stuart and I live very close to each other, and there's a pie place that we frequent, and I bumped into Stuart in front of the pie place, and he said that Tom had this book that he wanted to talk to me about, and it was the combination of the opportunity to work with Tom, who's been one of my favorite writers forever, and then what really sold me was they sent me a PDF of another early Ahoy book, High Heaven, which I saw what they were doing. I got the humor, the quality that they were putting into the books themselves. And I said that I definitely had to be involved. So very early on, Tom was exceedingly flexible. The initial idea behind The Wrong Earth was pretty much the same, but we hadn't really solidified who Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man were ultimately going to become. It was originally going to be a dog themed kind of vigilante thing, but two things happened. One was we have a friend of ours named Vito Del Sante who does a book called Stray. Yep. And I didn't want to step on his toes doing a similar type of hero.
Sure.
The other thing was I happened during the early conversations with Tom, I was on vacation in Tokyo and we were having these phone calls and I was, emailing these sketches back and forth to him. And while I was in Tokyo, one of the things about Japanese society is that there are dragonflies as a motif. There are dragonflies everywhere. They're like houseflies. They're literally just everywhere you go.
Yeah.
You see dragonflies everywhere. But dragonflies as a motif in Japanese society and Japanese history, they represent gracefulness and the warrior spirit. They adorn flags and samurai armor and all this different things. So I'm telling Tom this, and he goes, "Wow, that's really funny because in European history and mythology, dragonflies are emissaries of the devil." And I said,
wow.
We've got our heroes. We've got our dichotomy right there. So everything just sort of built out of that idea of Dragonfly Man being the noble heroic crusader, that Adam West influence, but there's also a little Guy Williams in there.
Sure.
There's there's a lot more to me with Dragonfly Man. There's definitely, there's leaning more towards the Zorro-esque Guy Williams kind of idea. And where Dragonfly is concerned, it's definitely leaning more towards that like kind of Christian Bale, Frank Miller influence, Dark Knight kind of idea. Personality wise, with Dragonfly specifically, when I think of him, especially the first series, he's just tired. He's been fighting crime for years and years and years.
Burnt out.
He just burnt out and an alcoholic and, just miserable, but he still goes out and does the job. But he does it in the most efficient way that he possibly can. So if it means, burning a bunch of guys alive or shooting them instead of trying to talk them down or beat them up, that's what he's going to do. So, the idea of having these two very disparate versions of the same character who, represent very different eras of those types of hero books is infinitely appealing to me. It's given me such an opportunity to just work out whatever Joneses I have for all of those types of characters.
Well, and with when I talk to Tom, what I love about Dragonfly Man in the Dragonfly edgier universe, he still has his virtue, and he really is like this very Galahad sort of character that is beyond reproach, and nothing is fate. Although I was reading the Dragonfly Man miniseries that came out this year before the next volume of Raw on Earth, and there's chinks in the armor that are starting to appear, and I look forward to see the development of the story. But it really is great, like dropping Adam West in a Frank Miller world and still being Adam West and everything. And and again, and I get the Guy Williams analogy as well, because I'm a massive Disney Zorro fan. So no, I see it. I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, that's the fun of the series. So
I absolutely agree. It has really been, and working with Ahoy has been, one of the best working experiences that I've had as a creator. I'm, going on 31 years working in comics. Yeah.
That's crazy, Jamal. That's excellent, man.
Yeah,
very cool.
I started at 17. So it's literally been, it's great to be surrounded by professionals, people that I respect, people who are friends, people who treat the company seriously, are good to the talent. Like, I've never seen a company put talent as a priority the way that Ahoy does.
That's excellent. Tom Levin, I'm assuming, is asking a question about Tom Peyer, and if you guys want to go around the horn. And I mean, again, Tom's a great veteran of comics, as many of you are. And any thoughts on Tom as a creator and what makes him a great writer?
Oh yeah. Well, Tom. I mean, yes, Tom is an incredibly talented writer. He is versatile. He's never been a one-trick pony in terms of writer. For me personally, working with Tom he's just funny. Like funny and giving and willing to listen to ideas and suggestions and take them in. And, again, it goes to that whole, the experience that I've had working with Ahoy for the past 2 years has just, Tom, makes it that much easier. I mean, Stuart is different. Stuart and I have been friends forever. So
we did a run on Firestorm together.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we're almost 2 years. I'm working with almost 2 years on that one too. So it's been, but it's the same thing. Talking to Frank, working with Hart Seeley, the publisher, like just good guys all around, good people all around.
Yeah, if I could say something else about Tom too, he is mostly known as a writer. He is also Ahoy's editor-in-chief.
Right.
And Tom and I were editors together at the beginning of the Vertigo imprint at DC. And people don't think of him as an editor, but he's a tremendously skilled editor. He's very good. And I think I can speak for him and say he really missed it. He's really enjoying that part of it. Where I'm sick of it. I don't want to edit it.
I understand. I'm gonna get back to you, Stuart. But Sue, and also Richard, it's really hard, and Jamal too. It's really hard to do humor art, and especially when you're dealing with action stories, because I mean, just like good comedy, the actors have to believe the reality that surrounds them, and they can't, go well, they can't go zany. For it to really be effective. And I know this of all of your books. And yes, Sue, I'll start you off in terms of talking about how you approach doing art and doing with a humor bent, but walking that tightrope.
I'm not sure actually. I guess it's easier with Mariah's scripts. We're always on the same page, and if I get confused, I always ask a million questions anyways. But I get the feel of like what she's going for, and we talked about this, way before we started it, about the theme, about the feel of the book. So she kind of gave me the reins to just be like, hey, with your style, do whatever you think fits. And so I get to draw like more expressive, like facial features, like, if someone looks dejected, I just give them like the very exaggerated slumped shoulders kind of thing. And she just like, she totally goes for anything that I do, really, because I try to, we wanted it to be, a little bit more graphic, but also like give it the humorous feel with kind of like the ridiculous like facial features or like the body gestures and everything. So I feel like we're pretty on the same page when it comes to all that, and she lets me do whatever I want, really. So I can't have a better like partner in this book, really.
Do you have to think about having old lady action heroes in terms of that combination of elderly, but again having to be capable and
that's
showing?
So funny, because I didn't want to give them like a feeble look or like they have. I mean, like I didn't want them to be too like arthritic. Like even I have arthritis sometimes, so like I get it, but I wanted Lottie is very athletic and she's very like spry and she does yoga and she's active. So I was like, what, with Lottie, I kind of feel like I can just have her be really superhero, like heroic, right? So I didn't have to give her any like disadvantages or anything like that. So that's kind of her superpower, right? Like that she's like completely fit and that she's very like active and excited, at all times. But with Peruvia, she's more like low key and she's like more of like the thinker, right? So I like that I leave Lottie to be more acrobatic and Peruvia to be more realistic in the sense of like, she's more grounded, like physically and emotionally.
Very cool. Very cool. Richard, how do you handle humor in Second Coming? Well,
I'm really lucky that Mark's sense of humor pretty much lines up with mine, although I tend to be a little more vulgar than Mark. It's pretty much, I read the script a few times. I do a layout based on exactly what Mark gave me. And then I look for beats that he may have missed because he's not an artist. And so sometimes I'll add a beat. So the joke, you'll write a brilliant joke, but he doesn't give, it's almost like a stand-up comedy thing. He doesn't give the audience a moment to react to it. So sometimes I'll just insert a panel to just give his joke that little bit of air. And I kind of see that as primarily my job. I'm doing the storytelling of the script and doing my best job to deliver the humor the way Mark wrote it. And I think that's the key thing. If you're an artist working with a writer, you don't step on what the writer's story is. You try and deliver it as best as possible. So that's what I see my job in Second Coming as.
That's cool. And Mark, your trade is satire. I mean, everything I've read of yours has an irreverent side to it and everything. So, I mean, this obviously, again, is a great a platform for you guys to land at and be able to do the kind of stuff you guys do at Ahoy.
Yeah, thanks. And I just want to say about the art on Second Coming that like when you work with an artist that you trust to get it, like Richard, it's like I find it's liberating as a writer because I don't have to put in like all kinds of details in the art notes. I know I can just sort of like say a vista of heaven, and Richard will be able to fill in the details of his own sort of like cool creative things. So I think that's the key of sort of, especially doing a satirical comic with an artist, is find somebody who gets you and you can run with the ball themselves and then give them as much freedom as you can.
That's awesome.
Say that Richard's dog is very distracting.
Aw.
I don't know if any one of us has listened to what Mark said because as soon as
it doesn't matter.
I saw literally all eyes went on Richard's dog, and we all
Cute
smiled.
dog. Yeah. No, pets are welcome. It's all right.
My son's birthday's today, so he's here. I didn't think I was going to be able to do this. So he was keeping Rocket busy in the other room, and I didn't think she'd come over here. She's a bit of an attention whore.
What kind of dog is she?
She's a Yorkie poo.
Okay.
I got her at the start of this pandemic. So
Wow.
she's now only about 8 months old.
I know a lot of people that adopted puppies and young cats to help out during this time, and I absolutely think that's terrific.
Yeah.
So
she's a sweetheart. And
that's beautiful, man.
But
I'm glad she's joining us. That's good. Stuart, I was gonna ask you, Stuart, if because again, I've always loved your writing, not only in comics, but the times you've also and especially in recent years that you've adapted some classic storylines to become novels in their own right and everything. And remind me of some of those that you've done recently. I know they were Marvel works.
Yeah, I wrote a novel version of the Dark Phoenix saga, X-Men. That was a challenge because that's quite a sprawling story that went over a lot of issues. And that came out from Titan Books last year. I wrote an original called Thanos Death Sentence, which I'm very proud of. I came up with something a little different to do with Thanos, I think, and Marvel just let me run with it. So that was good. I'm actually in negotiations to do something new along those lines now.
That was a nice surprise. I was at the ALA Expo, the American Library Association, when it was in Chicago. I want to say 2 years ago, and I saw a lot of the Marvel books like that and stuff. And either I saw your book or you had told me that you were writing, because we always run into each other at cons and spend a few moments to catch up. What's that?
Not this year, but
well, but at least we got this, man. Seriously, I mean, honestly, I truly. And Jamal, you're another person like that. That it's great when we're at the same shows, and it is so. Thank God we've got this technology where at least I get to see you guys on video. And we can truly. I mean, I was saying this to Matt and Kelly Sue and Bendis and Dave Walker and Mike Omingataki the other night, and it's like, oh God, man, I miss you guys. Jesus, at least we got this. So it really does. It means a lot that we're able to do stuff like this. But Stuart, I was going to also ask, because as you say, you were a Vertigo editor and stuff, and a longtime editor, but it must be fun to be at Ahoy and be able to cut loose as you are able to. With Captain Ginger. Is there another image I should show while you're talking? Because I didn't want to leave one out.
I could probably call something up. But
okay.
Yeah, it is fun. I mean, I sort of have my hands in every aspect of Ahoy, and Tom and I are very old friends, and we communicate pretty well. We can usually just solve problems pretty quickly. Like I said, I'm really not editing anything except my own books because I find it. I handle all the negotiations with Diamond and the sort of scheduling and things like that. And I do so much writing now that to me is an easier mental shift of gears to do that rather than working on. When I work on other people's stories now, I just get impatient. I just want to do it myself.
Hey, man.
Selfish, but
No, you're a creative guy. I mean, absolutely. So, and also, you guys are a creative company. And again, I'm really sorry because I know you guys have had a lot of fun at conventions when they were still happening with your panels. And I don't know if you wanted to describe, I mean, again, Dragonfly Man Day was such a great bit of fun online. And I was glad to be part of it and be able to talk to Tom about it when it happened. But yeah, if you don't mind, because again, it is tough to get noticed on this very crowded bookshelf. And there have been a lot of real quality publishers that have come out in the last couple of years. And I imagine you got to fight for your supper when it comes to getting notice and getting readership. So tell me some of the promotion stuff, and also, the fan reaction to Ahoy in general.
Well, the fan reaction's been very positive. It's been really gratifying. At one point, are we allowed to swear on this?
Of course you are. Yes.
Okay. At one point, we were just after we did the launch, we just got such a nice response. Tom or somebody said, we're the only thing on the internet nobody's shitting on. Like, we're just really nervous. We're like, when's this going to happen? but no, the reaction in general has been. I think we're a nice. I think we struck a bit of a balance of. There's a. I don't want to say there's an old-fashioned sensibility to our books, but there's a sensibility that old line readers can click onto. At the same time, the books themselves, I don't think are old-fashioned. I think they're pretty modern, and hopefully we're. It's working for a lot of people. I don't know what I'm saying. You guys have any?
No. I think good points. Please, yeah. Anyone want to jump in on that?
Yeah, no. What I was going to say is this is as a somebody who is not just working with the company, but as a casual observer from the outside, and somebody who's got a little bit of experience handling like marketing and stuff for other companies. It's that Ahoy. There is a space for a company like Ahoy. If we had played it straight, if we had tried to build like a connected superhero universe or whatever, and done what every other company seems to be doing, then I don't think we would have gotten as much play initially as we did. And I think also what helps is like when I was talking about my getting involved with Ahoy originally, you look at the quality of the books that are coming out. You look at the creators that are attached to these books, and you realize that Ahoy, because it's a smaller focused line of titles, because it is a curated line of titles, honestly, it's everything that is being done with a specific purpose and trying to reach a specific audience. The Wrong Earth is definitely focused towards those guys who grew up on Crisis on Two Worlds, that sort of storyline, Crisis on Infinite Earths, multiverse, sort of jumping back and forth kind of thing. But because it's a humor title, and because there are elements of it that are so absurd, when compared to anything else that's really on the stands, it makes it stand out. And I think it's the same thing with everything else that's going on. There is not a book like Billionaire Island being done at any other company. There just isn't.
I hear you, man.
And that's, I think, one of the things that attracts me to Ahoy is the fact that they do the comics that nobody else are doing. The fact that like every single one of their titles, it's like I can't imagine this it'd be hard to imagine any other company taking a chance on something like that. And yet they're all really well made. And to me, it's like it's about the proof of concept of having faith in the quality of your creators and making what sounds like it's going to be a bad idea turn out to just be something that people didn't know they needed.
I completely agree. Ahoy is like a lot of the new streaming television companies out there in terms of if it's there, the property's going to get a chance to find its audience. You're right. I think, and really, Mark and Richard, if Second Coming had stayed at Vertigo, who knows if you had gone beyond 6 issues or 12 issues. I think
if we had managed to get through all 6 issues, they would have given us the gold watch and politely.
Yeah.
Well, the really interesting thing is there was a study that came out looking at the growth in comics in the last year and how Marvel and DC have hit the wall in terms of the book trade.
Yep.
And it really means that if Marvel or DC are going to have a future, they're essentially going to have to do what Ahoy's doing. Right. They're going to have to look for things that are different that can stand on their own, because no one in the bookstore market are looking for event comics. That's a direct market. That's in the sandbox of the direct market. Outside of the sandbox of the direct market, which is continually shrinking because of the way it's built, you have people who just want a good thing to read. And that's what Ahoy does. Ahoy puts good books that you're going to read. And it doesn't matter if you're into Dragonfly Man because Dragonfly Man doesn't exist outside those books.
Right. Although I got to be honest, there have been a couple of times where I was wondering if we could pull off a Wrong Earth Second Coming crossover.
Well, I was going to ask if down the road, if a lot of these properties would lend themselves, once you guys have really established a core audience and you thought about it, because as you say, you don't need to do it. They're all its own separate things. But I could see Captain Ginger running into Dragonfly Man, or the ladies, running into a lot of these characters. And Jesus is everywhere. So that's
a great idea. They should have like how DC will have like their holiday edition. I want to do that where it's like a Christmas party where all the characters from all the different comics are just sort of hanging out at a Christmas party.
I like the idea that Jesus is kind of like the Monitor or something in our universe.
Everyone's just basically wishing Jesus a happy birthday at the Christmas party, bringing him little presents.
I really wasn't born this day.
Simpsons Halloween special, where it's like Simpsons Halloween specials have all the Simpsons characters, but they don't really happen in the Simpsons universe.
Right.
I was thinking, it's like if you did an Ahoy special, it looks like Dragonfly Man, it looks like Sunstar, but it's not really Sunstar Dragonfly Man from the books. So we can kill them. We can have Dragonfly Man kill Sunstar, and people just say, "What happened?" No, we're fine.
Well, let Tom know I'm willing to go into the next brainstorming session and bring these ideas up properly.
I think the serious answer is that it would have to be something driven by the creators. So it'd have to be something that both teams wanted to do, and there was a reason to do, and
sure.
Because it's certainly not something that Ahoy is not a company that would impose or probably even very strongly suggest something like that.
Well, and that's why, honestly, it's great having Tom and Stuart and Jamal and obviously even Mark and Richard's experiences as well in terms of what the big two represent. And it's, again, it's always these smaller companies. I feel that way as a podcaster, reacting not only to broadcast radio or television, but also the bigger podcast networks. So it's like, hey, I'm my own, I'm a little nimble boy. I can zig and zag. Right. While, there's a company plan and a goofy off the wall idea may not fit a structure. And that's what I truly love about Ahoy. And again, that you're able to be this nimble and just really kind of trust your own strengths in terms of putting the productions that you guys and women all put together. I think that's great.
Well, I think part of that is having a senior team who has the experience, not just but seriously, when you think about it,
different word than senior, but yeah.
Well, it's not like you're that much older than I am, but I'm talking about like in terms of company structure. But you know what I'm saying. You have a core group of people at the top who, between all of them, have I'm not going to go into ages, a plethora of experience. Let me just put it to you that way, working for various companies, doing a ton of different things, having, in Hart's case, having outside the comics experience as a journalist and as a writer, being able to bring that perspective into the company. And then, we have a unique package with the comics magazine. These are 40-page books that come out monthly, with a ton of back matter and fun stuff thrown in there, and an opportunity for new creators to come in and write prose stories or to do little short stories. When we did the first Wrong Earth series, we had Gary, and we had Tom Feister working. Oh, Edgar Allan Poe.
Why not?
But again, it's we started our series with a 2-page short by Grant Morrison. I mean, how that's a launch. That's how you break into a market and get eyeballs on your product.
That's great. Absolutely, man. What tell me, and I'm really glad, by the way, that Adam mentioned Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of, because Tom discussed that with me. And again, a great parody for viewers who may not know, really kind of Ahoy's spin on Tales from the Crypt, or, God, and now House of Secrets at DC, all the great horror anthologies, and that this is Ahoy's kind of spin on that, which I think is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, that's coming back in October under the title.
Of course it is. That's great.
Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of Blood. We actually got a really beautiful cover by Jill Thompson that I'll try and pull up.
Oh, hey, that's terrific. Chicago's very own. That's excellent, man. Well, I wanted to go around the horn and ask who and forgive me if this is a pedestrian question, but who are your humor influences? And I mean, obviously, not just comics, but I mean, really, I mean, Marx Brothers or great novelists or playwrights or whatever. So, Sue, I don't know. Do you have any? Do you have any humor influences?
Do I have? I mean, gosh, I don't even know. Right? It's so many. And now that you're asking for a specific name, I'm just drawing a complete blank.
You'd rather?
I mean, honestly, I can't say especially who, but I guess it's like just that era of like, I don't know if those Elseworld series were a series of like humor, if anything, but they had a lot of like alternate realities where it, led to be less serious,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I took a lot of influence in that because it's, Ash and Thorn isn't like a har kind of like funny thing, but it's a lot of sarcasm. It's a lot of dark humor, which I really appreciate. So I don't know to say like specifically who. I'm just kind of drawing a blank. Maybe I'll have an answer when everyone else responds.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry about
Stuart?
that.
Well, for me in comics, it's definitely the late Steve Gerber. I was a giant fan of Howard the Duck, and that's a big influence on what I do. This might be a strange answer too, but also in comics, Howard Chaykin, who I think his work could be enormous.
And there's a lot of humor in Howard's stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so those.
I was watching Howard's Spotlight before we got started, and Howard's going to be back actually at 7 with several creators. He's doing a thing. It's a good opportunity to promote it. Neotext is this new interesting prose initiative that Howard is part of. So I'll be talking to Howard later in the day at Mainframe. So, but yeah, I don't know if you have more, Stuart, before I go on. Okay, Jamal, how about your influences?
Well, I mean, in comics, I think probably the one that really stood out to me was Giffen and DeMatteis on Justice League. That was like right in my formative years as a young comic book reader. So they had a huge influence on me. But I'm also a guy who grew up on the Marx Brothers, on the Zucker Brothers films,
Sure.
Airplane, just all that's Kentucky Fried Movie, all that stuff.
Oh God, yeah, Landis,
So
Top Secret,
but also like Robin Williams and so many. There's so many. Just I was a huge Robin Williams fan growing up from a kid. Even like John Ritter was a huge influence in terms of the type of comedy that I like. But it really is. It's like. I watch Marx Brothers movies all the time. I love wordplay. I love, that level of, smart satire, and I think that's probably what really drew me to want to do The Wrong Earth, is to be able, because you don't get that many opportunities, particularly in comics. Because especially everything has a tendency to be super serious, and I'm having fun. I try to bring that kind of humor to a lot of the stuff that I've done over the last 10 years or so. I mean, there's definitely that level of sarcasm and wordplay in Molly Danger as well. So
yes, indeed, yeah. And seriously, Jamal, talk about Molly Danger for a second, by all means.
Oh yeah. So for the uninitiated, Molly Danger is a 10-year-old superhero who's been 10 years old for 2 decades. I originally did it as a Kickstarter, and we published the first book. I'm working on the second book in between everything else. But she was my love letter to my daughter, who was 4 when I created her, is now 12, and you've seen her. Some people have seen her wandering in the background occasionally. And, but yeah, no, Molly is a super strong 10-year-old with 20 years of combat experience and the mentality of a sneaky 10-year-old. So, that there's a lot of, of my ideas on celebrity and superhero comics and, representation for young girls and just everything is kind of thrown into that character. And she's my other baby. So
that's awesome. And people can get the first volume?
Yes, it is everywhere. You can get it on Amazon. You can order it through your LCS. It's published by Action Lab Entertainment.
Terrific.
And yeah.
That's awesome, man. All right, Mark and Richard, your comedic influences?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of comedic influences within comics, but I feel like some of the people that have influenced my sense of humor and my writing a lot would be like Kurt Vonnegut, was a huge influence on me. Mel Brooks, and Richard Pryor, I think, would probably be my big 3 influences. The people I just think like, wow, if I could frame a topic, if I could write about society through their eyes like theirs, then I got something.
I'm with you, man. That's cool. Richard?
I'm gonna second Stuart Moore with Howard Chaykin. And actually, it's interesting. I'm friends with Howard now. It's weird that in comics you can become friends with like your.
That's fantastic. I understand that.
Last time I was talking to him, we're talking about maybe getting him to do something for Second Coming, a pinup or something. I gotta talk.
Hey, excellent.
Yeah, because he's a fan, and
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and the idea would be he'd draw something and I'd color it.
Nice.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and what's also really great is Howard I had a lot of friends recommend American Flag, and it's a great book. It's a great science fiction book. And I'm reading it, and I'm laughing my ass off. And all my friends were thinking it's like dead serious because they didn't, unless it had big feet, they didn't think it was supposed to be a funny comic book. But I'm going like, there's a street in South America called United Fruit. Come on.
Yep.
Might be a bit of a stretch for modern audiences to get the humor up.
But if you know your history of the CIA, you get that joke. Absolutely, man.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, so I was laughing my ass off on everything Howard did, and all these people were like screaming because they thought he was dead serious, and I just thought that was even funnier.
That's hilarious.
Howard's a brilliant. I mean, it's like I'm almost thinking it's like, I mean, Howard's still vital in his 70s, and I'm like, he should probably do something at Ahoy. I mean, at this point, I mean,
seriously. There's a meeting that Tom and Howard have to have. I think that'd be a great idea. Because you're right, man. Hey Kids Comics. I'm really enjoying that book. Absolutely. Yeah. So I hear you. All right. So we give you a little time here. I don't know if you got any ideas.
It's funny, Mark. When you said Kurt Vonnegut, I was wondering if you were gonna throw out like Hunter S. Thompson or something like that, because I could definitely see your kind of humor with that brand. But
that's cool.
Yeah.
So is that your influence then?
No, I mean, I guess if we're going by novels and stuff, yeah, sure, right? Everyone loves a good, weird Hunter S. Thompson, like humor.
That's true.
Right?
The Gonzo journalist, absolutely, man.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I guess speaking of, I don't know why, but Jamal just jogged my memory. I read a lot of manga when I growing up,
Yeah.
A lot of Japanese comics or Asian comics in general, humor is number one, no matter what it is. It could be the most serious comic, the most the darkest comic. It could be gruesome, and humor has to be thrown in there somewhere. And it's the facial expressions. I think maybe that's where I get it from, because I'm not afraid to have ugly faces with mouths open or looking kind of not the most flattering, because it's more realistic like that in the terms of having very expressive features, right? So I think with manga, they're very unafraid to add some humor in inappropriate times, or add humor where it also fits, right, in inappropriate times as well. So with the very laughy faces and everything. So I think that's where I get a lot of my influences from.
That's fantastic. To wrap things up, I will send people to your website. Is it just ahoycomics.com?
It's Comics Ahoy.
There you go, comicsahoy.com. Very cool. And I know people obviously could likely buy the collected trades there. Do you sell individual issues at the website as well?
No, we don't. But yeah, they're available. They're available on Amazon. They're available through comic shops. And this fall we will have collected editions both of all four: Snifter of Terror, Edgar Allan Poe Volume 2, Ash and Thorn, Captain Ginger Volume 2, and Billionaire Island. Will all be out between like September and November.
That's great. Hey, I hope we'll have individual conversations or team conversations to talk to you all more about your books, because I really am enjoying all the product that's coming from Ahoy, and I congratulate you guys all. I think it's a great start to this company, and I'm glad you're getting the attention you deserve. And I hope conversations like this help to grow the audience for Ahoy Comics. So thank you all very much. A really fun conversation. Great to get to know you. And I'm sure down the road I'll be bugging all of you to come on a Word Balloon episode and talk more about your fantastic product. Oh, wait, have I got an image to show here?
That might be a good farewell for the from Ash.
There you go. Now what? Well, now you go to comicsahoy.com and find out more about Ahoy Comics. Guys, thank you very much for your time. Everybody, I've got another panel coming up where I'll be doing a spotlight with Chip Zdarsky for the next hour. So if you will move over to the other hall, and I'll join you in a few minutes. But thank you, everybody.
Wearing pants,
Thank
John.
you.
I make no claims of either yes or no. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Be well. Bye-bye.